back to the Meaning of Podcast. I am Ace.
This is RB3.
And this is the podcast where we talk about your favorite film directors and the deeper meaning within their films. And as you can tell from the setup behind me and the setup currently going on by my voice, we are in a new studio. And by new studio, I mean not in my apartment.
We finally moved out after the catastrophe of last week. I'm sorry I fucked up last week, Ace. That was my bad.
Yeah, that was it's not your fault, but it was still crazy. Coming to my house at 2 in the morning. Delivered the package. It's like, I'm like, are you sure, man? It's 2 in the morning. I'm cool. I was just playing Call of Duty Blackout. Which is what I do at 2 in the morning. But
is that the new one, or?
Yeah, it is the new one. It's a beta.
Shit. Oh, okay, that's
the official game comes out.
Battle Royale, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, which I'm terrible at. Terrible. But either way, I got the game already, so I'm still gonna play it anyways. But yes, new setup, new studio, but probably gonna sound better. Probably, I don't know if it's gonna look better as far as our background goes. Probably better.
It's 720p, so it's not 1080. The way we're doing it, 60 frames a second.
Yes,
too much. But
we are currently in the Collider offices. The abandoned Collider offices, which is it's going to be our new staple RB3. We're going to take over everyone who's outside, and by everyone I mean there's no one there. Yeah,
because we just come in like after they're closed and just sneak in. Somebody less.
We break the glass like Ryan Gosling in The Nice Guys.
Wrap our hands around. Oh, Nice Guys, because Shane Black.
Because Shane Black. Because guess what, guys?
What you did there?
This episode, we're going to be talking about Shane Black, who had a film come out already last weekend, The Predator. We're going to be talking about The Predator in full spoilers, so we'll let you know when we get into that. To be ready for that, we're also going to be talking a little bit about, in my notes, the Shane Black controversy around that movie itself with Olivia Munn. And we're also going to be talking about him as a screenwriter and as a director, because he only has a few films on his filmography in IMDb. But we're going to get into those films as well. Great writer. Yeah, we're going to talk about his writing first, because I feel like it is an important aspect of Shane Black's career. But before we do all that, what we always do is we read your comments from last week's episode where we talked about film criticism. It was episode number 50. We're closing in on the year mark, RB3.
Yeah, I saw on Facebook, I got the reminder that a year ago today, I posted that we announced this podcast.
Yeah, it's coming up, man, that year mark. It's going to be lots of tears flowing, man.
Episode 52.
Either way, first comment is from Nighthawk, who says, keep this podcast going forever. Thank you, Nighthawk.
Thank you.
That's very nice of you.
We'll try.
Lou Bloom, obviously, he's always there.
For the 50.
He says, it's easy to be on it's objectively bad camp when it comes to movies like The Room. Other than those cases, the rest consist in people trying to pass their opinions as fact. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, if there's such thing as an objectively bad film. I said yes. I said there's a lot of objectively bad films, and that your opinion doesn't matter. It's a bad film. Obviously, that's my opinion, and it's pretty rough opinion, but...
See, that's funny, because I think one of the biggest problems I think I have with like the discourse around film is that, like, at least in modern times, and I get it, people are more sensitive in the internet age, but it's always, oh, my opinion this, oh, this is my opinion, you know, like that's, to me, it's like, well, if you're saying something, that is your opinion, you know what I mean? Like, so I never felt, and I think that's why a lot of people get mad at me whenever I say shit like, oh, this movie sucks or whatever, because I just say, like, I think it's fact, because I think it is fact, but I think it's fact because it's my opinion, you know? So, but people just need to understand, like, no matter what anybody says, ultimately is their opinion, unless it's like citable by statistics or whatever, you know?
Sure, but at the same time, we talked about it last week, that there is such thing as bad lighting, bad acting, bad framing, you know, bad editing, bad cut. Like, that's a real thing. There's an actual art form. There's an actual technical expertise to make films. And that should be fairly criticized, such as Transformers, which is pure trash.
Such as a movie we're going to talk about today.
I was going to say, there's a movie that has a lot of flaws in it. And we're going to be talking about it in full spoilers, but let's not get into it yet. Alan Partridge says, great show, boys. Your discussion about diversity was on point. As an Australian of Fijian descent, it is frustrating not being represented on and off screen, be it TV, film, etc. But when it comes to sport, we're overrepresented. Yeah, that's a fair point. I feel like even though there's a lot of great Australians of Fijian descent who I feel like are starting to take off a little bit more in front of the screen.
I mean, Alicia Malone, it's Australian, right?
Yeah, but she's not of Fijian. Fiji.
Oh, Fiji.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Aussie, mate.
Yeah. Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi.
There you go.
Hey.
But either way, yeah, I feel like there is a port. Like we talked about it on the Taika Waititi episode. Like there's a lot of like Islander, New Zealand, Australian people who are you know, being paid more attention to because of their talent.
Yeah.
They're talented people, like a Taika. And we're going to see a little bit more of them, hopefully, in Aquaman. I see a lot of I see a lot of Australian and Kiwi actors in there.
James Wan's Australian himself, right?
There you go. James Wan's Australian, and there's like Tamora Morrison, who plays Jango Fett. And he's also in Spartacus, and Spartacus is a great New Zealand show too because it's shot over there, and there's a lot of Kiwi actors. Manu Bennett is in Spartacus, and he's another great actor from New Zealand as well. But obviously, Alan is probably like, you guys talk about New Zealand, talk about Australia.
You're getting a whole nother racial cloud. You didn't even think about the Australians here, man. Like, come on, man.
Elijah Yates says, congratulations on 50 episodes. Been listening since the first one. You guys are doing wonderfully.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate that.
Philip Acevedo says, where can I find this on podcast form? Sorry, I'm new here. RB3, can you tackle that question?
Podcast. Why you toss to me like that? You can find our podcast on iTunes and the Schmoes Know, Schmoes Know iTunes feed, and on Podcast One as well. And I keep saying that we're going to do a SoundCloud shit. That's for sure going to happen very soon, y'all.
Once we're on SoundCloud, I'm going to drop my tracks, too. It's going to be like accompanied by track 1 from Ace's mixtape.
Hey, man.
Hey, you never heard me spit, bro.
Bro, nah.
Ain't nobody heard me spit before.
Hey, I got to be on Collider Live and talk about the Eminem and MGK beef.
And in the
yeah.
Did you see MGK pose with like the Fall Out Boy fans?
Yeah, that shit was stupid. He had the W. He should have. Hey,
did he have the W?
You know what? I went very easy on the Collider Live platform because I know a lot of our fans think I'm Eminem haters.
Yeah,
I cooled it back a little bit.
I saw The Predator with JT, which we're gonna get into, and
he's like the biggest Eminem fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say we had like an hour discussion on Eminem, man, and I swear half of it was me like nodding quietly and trying not to debate too much. But basically, I was just telling him like I really do feel like the new Eminem stuff now is great, like in a kind of like rap battle kind of way if there's no music in the background.
I mean,
but in a music kind of way, hip hop has evolved, man. Hip hop isn't just, Burns anymore. Ooh, Burns, like it used to be. But now hip hop is much more like,
I think it's the tactics.
Can you play this on the radio? Because if not, you're kind of whack.
Well, dude, I hate that. I hate when rappers who are big stars have to come out with a pop track to like respond to somebody. You know what I mean? Like
Drake?
Drake does, Drake actually
Drake's already kind of pop.
But he's already pop, but I think he does that best. But Nicki Minaj, when she was dissing Remy Ma, came out with a whole video featuring Lil Wayne and Drake for her diss track. Remy Ma literally hopped on a 20-year-old beat, and I think both of those tracks are whack, honestly. And the same thing with what's the recent beef with Pusha T and Drake, right? Drake had the whole beat, the studio time. All Pusha T did was rap on some Jay-Z shit and spit the bars, and he won the beef. So
yeah, but that's because Pusha T went personal, man.
Yeah, well, I think that's
he broke Drake's heart. Drake was just like, "You're whack," and that's all.
That's why. That's why I hand MGK the win because he really got under Eminem's skin. And if you get under the skin of your opponent, I think that's a W.
That's a good point. Movie Ace says YouTube and geek culture has ruined film criticism. Now it's all about plot holes. And this and that didn't fit, and that didn't fit, and the casting is wrong because this person doesn't look right. It's all preconceived notions of what a movie should be and what it should be about. Film criticism is audiovisual style, cinematography, script, symbols, acting, etc. What is the filmmaker trying to say? Yeah, there's an interesting video made by Patrick H. Willems, which I've mentioned him before several times, talking about how YouTube internet culture has kind of made everything about plot holes and how like that doesn't make sense, therefore bad movie.
Yeah,
and it's kind of annoying because everyone considers himself a movie expert.
That's why that became a thing, because people who don't have any knowledge of film or any education on what cinema really means, they're breaking, they're becoming these YouTube personalities or whatever and have no idea what they're saying. So all they could point to is, hey, plot holes. You know what I mean? So none against the people who do that, because they're hustling and grinding the way they should. But I don't know. But I do agree that there's a whole new wave of that happening, and I don't like it either.
Speaking of nitpicky people who point out plot holes in movies when they should just enjoy the movie for what it is, let's get into The Predator.
You pointing towards me?
Yeah, I'm pointing towards you, man.
By the way, I saw you on Movie Fights, man.
Oh, yeah.
I saw you on Movie
Thank
Fights.
you.
Congratulations on that mug, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Let's add some applause, man.
I was trying. I was so close.
You're close, man.
I don't know if you saw it. Oh, you did see the whole thing?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
I was like, man,
you got screwed over.
Ain't nobody's
again.
gonna watch this whole thing
on the speed round, bro. It's always the speed round.
It's always a speed round. I swear, I've always made it to like not just the speed round. I've made it with a lead to the speed round. I've made it with a tie to the speed round, and I always lose. I've always lost.
Yeah, man, you came real close.
I swear, I was like, I'm finally gonna win. It's gonna be this exciting speech that I'm gonna give about being a winner. Nope, lost to Dan Casey. I played Dan Casey and Clark Wolf. For anyone who wants to go back and watch the movie fights that we had, it was a DC themed movie fights.
DC themed. You definitely won the first point. I agreed with that one.
I killed that first point.
That was
I picked Justice League as like the one that most that deserves a do over.
Yeah. That's very accurate. I think I would
Justice
picked,
League is terrible.
I would have picked Wonder Woman, but that's just me.
To do it over?
Yes.
Ooh.
I think it sucks.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. I do think it's not the case. I think the third act. No, I think I would have made the argument for Wonder Woman just so I would have said, if you made the third act of that movie great, this would have been the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Well, Dan Casey argued that that's the worst villain in any DC movie.
Yeah.
Which I disagreed with, and I said Jesse Eisenberg because he is the worst.
I don't even agree with that.
Terrible.
I agree with Dan Casey on that one. I agree with Dan Casey on that one.
It's over, RB3. I'm burning down the studio.
Yeah. Clark Wolf had a good argument for the Catwoman.
She did, yeah, and that was a tough one because I was like, I'm not arguing for the Joker. Okay, cool, I'm arguing for Christopher Reeve. Let's do it, which I was cool with because he was definitely my second choice. Let's get into The Predator, which came out over the weekend. Had a terrible box office with 24 million opening weekend. I think that's terrible.
Terrible.
It did. It was pretty bad, man.
It's the lowest opening for over 4,000 screens, right?
Correct. Yeah. Which is a bad record to have. I forget who was the previous record owner of that.
Oh, The Mummy.
The Mummy. Ooh, that's bad company, man. Either way, The Predator came out over the weekend. Shane Black was following up his first movie because he wrote the screenplay for the first Predator. And this was kind of an anticipated movie, but what really took the wind out of it was the controversy of Olivia Munn, which we're going to get into because I'm forcing you to get into this stuff, RB3. I'm forcing you to give me your hot takes. Man. I'm putting you in a corner, RB3. I'm hitting you with the Canelo rights and lefts and the hooks for anyone who saw the Canelo Triple G fight. There we go. There's my fight quote for the day, my fight reference for the day. Either way, The Predator... You and I tweeted at the exact same time. Which is the funniest thing ever. But I can't lie, man. I saw it with JT, as I said before, and I walked out of the theater, and I turned to JT before he said anything, and I was like, that was a really messy movie. But I kind of had a lot of fun with it. I had fun with this movie, RB3. This movie is edited horribly. This movie, the story is what? Like it's so bizarre and inconsistent.
There's 5 or 6 movies in here.
You don't know what's going on. This movie, you could tell it was reshot quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell it was cut with a lot of studio notes. And yet, RB3, I stand here a man defending The Predator. Shane Black's The Predator, 2018, rated R. Wow. I stand here defending it because at the end of the day, I had fun. I had fun with it. I like the bizarre characters. I liked Boyd Holbrook being just a stereotypical badass dude, like Arnold was in the first one, just a stereotypical badass soldier dude, and all of them being military war criminals kind of type of people who would take down a predator. And I was like, yeah, it's a bunch of military guys shooting at a much better military person, which is the predator. And I'm not saying this movie's perfect. I'm not saying this movie's great. I'm just saying it's an over-the-top 80s movie by Shane Black, and it's funny. It's a funny, fun movie.
I knew as soon as you were gonna say it was an 80s fucking. Listen,
that's what it is.
I'm sick and tired.
And here's my thing. I saw it with a packed theater, and the theater enjoyed it too, man. I walked out and I talked to a few people, and they were all telling me they were like, "Yo, that was a dope movie, man." And I was like, "Yeah, it kind of was. Like, it was just a fun, cool movie with like cool kills where everyone was like, ooh, oh shit, like." I don't know. That's what I took out of the movie. I enjoyed seeing military people kick ass, and that's what happened in the movie, RB3.
Yeah.
Your take?
Listen, this is not a good movie. All right, we talked about early in this episode and last episode. There's objectively bad movies. This is an objectively bad movie, Ace, and I don't think there's any denying it here, man. What the fuck was that? Like, I watched this movie. I watched it at USC School of Cinematic Arts. You know, my fraternity put on screening for it. It was a great time. Saw it, you know, same day it came out, but, you know, for free. And it was, wow. I mean, it was just embarrassing how bad this movie was. See, here's my thing. I don't have any particular, I'm not coming at this like as a super Predator fan. Gotcha. You know what I mean? My really only frame of reference is the first Predator movie, the very first one. You know what I mean? So, you know, for me, I don't know how silly Predator 2 or Alien versus Predator or whatever.
You've never seen them?
I've never seen them. I only saw the first one. I only saw the first one. But the first one's a really cool action, horror, sci-fi movie, you know? Everybody's going to it's fun, 80s movie. Okay, the first one was made in 1987, and it took the premise seriously. It took the idea seriously. What is this? What does Shane Black do to this material? Why did he make it such a joke? Like, I don't like, it's a legitimate question. I don't care about the Predator. I have no investment in the franchise. I'm legitimately like wondering, like, why did he choose to make a parody of the Predator? Like, I don't know why. I don't know. Like, that's my question here, Ace. So,
but did it hit though? That's my point. If let's just say everything you're saying is correct. Let's just say this was a parody. Let's just say this was a over the top comedy of the first movie. Yeah. Did it hit? Did it hit you? Did you laugh?
As a parody.
Did you laugh?
It's not a good enough. It's not a good enough. No, I laughed. See, here's the thing. I laughed. But it's not
if
a good enough.
If the movie made you laugh, and if the movie's intention was to make you laugh.
No, listen. It's not a good enough comedy for me to call a great parody of Predator. You know what I mean? Nor is it a good enough Predator movie for me to call it a good action movie. You know what I mean?
I kind of
feel like it's not good enough at anything to be a good anything. You know what I mean?
I feel like people misremember that movie quite a bit. I've been hearing a lot of takes, not yours currently, what you're saying right now, but I've been hearing a lot of takes of like, oh, I'm such a big fan of the first one, and the first one is just dark and gritty and grounded. No, it's not. It's a bunch of ripped dudes with like close-ups on their biceps as it jiggles and as it shakes, and like a close-up of like two guys showing off which bicep is bigger, and just a bunch of buff dudes shooting at this imaginary target that's not there. That's the movie. That's the entire. That's the whole first movie.
It's atmospheric.
It's so over the top.
It's simple. It's high concept. What the?
It's over the top. It's
okay. Then what do you call this one? Then what do you call this
one? This one's silly too and over the top.
You don't think this one's way worse, way more over the top, way sillier?
Well, this one added in more comedic elements, but I still feel like the first one is like a silly '80s movie.
I don't think it's silly, man. I think you really got to you got to really go back and rewatch it, because even though it does have silly moments, it does have the weird.
Look at the lines in that movie, bro.
The lines, get to the chopper.
I don't have time to bleed.
Get to the chopper.
Who says that?
Lines. Yo, listen. I mean, that was the '80s. See, this is also what blows my mind about this whole thing, right? Like, we have to at some point come to reason with the idea that what worked back in the '80s doesn't work now. You know what I mean? Sure. How long are we going to keep doing the same '80s repetitive bullshit that we're going to keep doing? I mean, we talked about before, like, it's a cycle, right? It's always going to happen 30 years. You know, we're going to keep making the same movie.
Yeah.
But come on, like, if you watch a movie from 1949 where the camera really just stays in like two places and people are walking around like it's a stage play, you put that in theaters today, audiences are going to have no idea what they're looking at. No idea. So why do we keep concerning ourselves with harking back to this hokey 80s tone? Why not update it to a modern, because this is, and you know, maybe this is why I'm a little disappointed. Maybe I went into this thinking that this was going to be like the Mad Max Fury Road of the Predator franchise, right? Like rebirthing it, redoing it right. And that's why I go into that's why I try and go into at least like every 80s sci-fi action thing that comes in the modern age. I at least hope is going to be somewhat close to quality as Mad Max Fury Road. It takes the material as seriously.
You thought that Shane Black was going to make a Mad Max Fury Road of the Predator?
Maybe not Mad Max Fury Road,
I was going to say Shane Black,
but something that respected the material. Especially, he was in the first. He was in the first
movie.
Wrote
the first one.
Did he write it? Did he?
Yeah.
I know he wrote the second one.
No, I think he wrote the first one too. I'm going to check.
Or maybe ghostwriting. I think probably definitely ghostwriting. I'm not 100%. I have no idea, but like he's.
Oh no, you're right. He didn't.
But you know, to me, like is in the first movie. Like, if anybody has any attachment to this material, I thought, oh, for sure it was going to be Shane Black, because what made Mad Max Fury Road work is the passion of George Miller coming back and doing that. And I think anything that embodies or encompasses some sort of passion from the original creator coming into the modern age is usually always satisfying. But this movie just doesn't.
But I feel like comparing George Miller to Shane Black, who Shane Black is like, the guy doesn't take anything seriously.
Yeah, and maybe I should have.
I mean, look at Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Look at every movie that he's done. Look at Iron Man 3.
My disappointment.
He does not take Iron Man 3
You know what? And that's why I even tweeted before I saw Predator. I was like, are we gonna get Iron Man 3 Shane Black? Or are we gonna get The Long Kiss Goodnight Shane Black, or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang Shane Black?
Even in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, like that movie, he doesn't take a lot seriously. He doesn't take anything seriously in any of his movies.
But it's consistent.
It is consistent, a little too consistent. We'll talk about that. But for me, I was like, yeah, this is a comedy. It's a comedy with some gore. That's what it was for me. And for me, the comedy hit and the gore hit, and that's kind of what I wanted. And there were some action scenes that were pretty cool, and there was a bunch of military guys who were kicking ass. Yeah, I'm in. A bunch of group of misfits dudes who say stupid lines every once in a while.
Okay, but why does every single character in this movie have to have some sort of like disorder, some sort of like goddamn like, oh, you know, like I get it.
Like Thomas Jane, you mean?
Yeah. The original Predator has that too to a certain extent, right? Like everybody has the one thing.
Yeah.
But why is
that's the Native American guy? That's the crazy buff black guy. That's the angry guy with the huge Gatling gun.
Yeah, salute to Bill Duke too. In the original, my mentor. But that's what I'm saying though. It's like that. Why in this era? And I get the whole ultimate theme of it was like, oh, pro autism, pro being on a spectrum or whatever. I get it. That's a good message too. It had a good message on being pro mental illness and being pro environment and being pro, endangered species. You know what I mean? But there's there's literally 4 to 5 entirely fully fleshed out movies that you could have taken out of this one and made a cohesive, simple story. And I don't know why. What's the point of overcomplicating it? Is it supposed to be satire? Maybe that's my biggest problem with it too. If it's supposed to be a comedy, if it's supposed to be satirizing the elements of the original Predator, cool. Do that, but it wants to have.
You don't think it did?
No,
I think it absolutely did.
I think it made jokes on it, but I think it fell into the exact same conventions and the exact same stupidity that all the other Predators movie followed. There's nothing clever that it had to say. No really clever commentary that it really had to say about the Predator franchise in general or sci-fi movies in general. It has no.
Well,
real
you just named
commentary
like 3 things that it did, and I was like, that's pretty good. About autism, about the environment. I was like,
But it's awful. Like, I have to pull for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's awfully done. Like, just because it says something doesn't mean it says it well. It's just pieces. This shit is the worst movie I've seen. Like,
oh man, don't say that.
To me, at least. Like,
here's
I couldn't take any. It's a fun movie. I was never bored.
This is what I'm trying to say. It's a fun movie. It's funny. The comedy hit for me. The action hit for me. Yes, it's rushed and edited super fast. When I found out the runtime of this movie, I was immediately worried because I think it's like $1.47. I was like, $1.47. Holy crap! Well, who edited this movie? And you can tell this movie was edited.
It's the worst edited movie
one of the worst edited. I agree. Recently. This was similar to Suicide Squad as far as editing goes, because I was like, ew. There were some few scenes where I was like, ugh. This is like close to Suicide. A few scenes.
So Suicide Squad's more flashy with his badness,
but this one for me in Suicide Squad, none of the characters hit, none of the comedy hit, none of the action beats hit. At least for this one, all 3 of those things hit for me. Comedy, action, characters. I was invested with Boyd Holbrook's character. I was invested with the ridiculous comedy lines that they were saying throughout the movies. I was invested with Sterling K. Brown, and I laughed at every stupid callback.
Sterling K. Brown like fucking shot his own fucking head off, and like it just cut away from him like after 2 seconds.
Okay, I agree with that.
Hey, what the fuck happened?
That was kind of that. I even told JT, I was like, when did he die? He's like, oh, he got shot. Who shot him?
Nah, man.
Did his own men shoot him? Did the Predator shoot him? Did he shoot him? Like,
I'm over it.
But I don't know, man. There are some funny lines and funny callbacks. Like I love when Olivia Munn goes up to the first Predator and she's like, "You're one beautiful motherfucker." I was like, that's funny. That immediately made me laugh. I laughed at the "get to the chopper" line as well.
That was good. That was good.
Dude, the beautiful motherfucker was funny as hell.
Dude,
even the line where she's like, "That's not a predator. That's more of a sports hunter," and she's like, "Oh, we took a poll, man. Predator just sounds cool, right, guys? Fuck yeah."
Dude,
that was so funny.
Why?
That was hysterical. And even when Keegan-Michael Key was like, "No, that's more of a sports hunter." That's what I said. And the fact that Thomas Jane kept stopping Olivia Munn even though she was trying to get away, and just saying the stupidest lines, and the fact that she kind of went with it, I thought that was funny. It would have been stupid if she ran away and then he said stupid shit. But the fact that he was like kind of debating with her as far as what he said, little beats like that made me enjoy the comedy, made the comedy hit for me.
Listen, I think the comedy was well done. I think the comedy was good. It's Shane Black, so of course the comedy is going to be good, right?
Yeah.
My point is, why is there comedy in this to begin with? This should be.
Hey, the movie's a comedy, man. The movie's an action comedy.
Yes, it shouldn't be a comedy.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
For one, it's not even framed. It's not even constructed as a comedy. Like it feels. I don't know, man. There's so much wrong with this movie. Like I could really. This is one of the worst. Like. Wow, I really walked out of this like really, and I like Jurassic World.
I was going to say RB3.
Too, by the way.
It's kind of difficult for me to understand your opinion right now when you like
because Jurassic World's
Kingdom.
Consistent, man. Jurassic
World, Fallen Kingdom, and you're arguing about the Predator
because this movie's supposed to. You look on the categorization, it says action, adventure, horror. I was never scared once in that movie. The action all kind of sucked to me. The action sucked. All the action sucked to me. And I don't know. They're like trying to drain you in the fact that it's R-rated. Like it couldn't just be a simple kill. No, you have to see somebody's intestines literally fall out. Like what the actual man? Man.
But it didn't even look that real, anyways.
It didn't look real. What? Why? Like none in this movie.
That's what I'm saying,
good.
though. Like to me, I immediately found the tone. I took a hold of it and I got it. It clicked in me. I feel like a lot of people, it didn't click with them, the tone. For me, as soon as I saw the fake, like freaking Looney Tunes intestines, I was like, oh, they're supposed to look goofy because this is a comedy. Like everything was over the top and goofy. All the kills were over the top and goofy for a point. It was supposed to be an over the top action horror comedy.
I ain't with it. I ain't with the kid being in this movie.
He's great. Jacob Tremblay. I mean, he didn't do much in the movie, but he's a good actor, man.
Why? No, dude. Why is there a kid? Why is it in the suburbs? Why is Olivia Munn? Everything about this movie is wrong,
Olivia Munn is great.
Bro.
RB3.
She does her best, man. Literally nothing. Like I don't know why I didn't like look at the cast and like think. I don't know why I didn't.
You
should
have known this.
I knew this going in. I should have looked at Shane Black. I should have been like, this is gonna be serious. But I don't know why I don't know why I thought it was gonna be a real movie. I don't know why. It just wasn't. But I can't rock with this one, bro. This is
I say embrace the ridiculousness.
Let's pull up the Ramsey's truck. Where's the Ramsey Awards? Let's pull it back and let's get ready for.
There's much worse movies than
this one
that deserve that, like Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. But either way, Boyd Holbrook shooting a gun at a predator, trying to kill it, trying to talk about how he's gonna kick so much ass. I'm in, man. I'm into it. I enjoyed it. Obviously, let us know what you guys thought of it. I'm assuming most of you guys did not enjoy this movie. I am definitely in the minority. RB3 is a majority. As I said before, there's a lot of issues with this movie. But I still had fun.
A lot of issues is an understatement.
I still had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the fact that there's just a bunch of military dudes kicking ass and that it's had some very funny lines. And Sterling K. Brown is great. He's a great actor, man. And he's great in this movie.
It's okay to be wrong, Ace.
Nope.
It's okay to be wrong.
I'm right, RB3. I will always be right. And that concludes our Predator spoiler review. Obviously, you can let us know. But now,
got a little heated for that one.
Speaking of heated, RB3, let's get into what kind of contributed to this horrible box office of The Predator. And that is the controversy that went into The Predator. And it is the Olivia Munn controversy, and it's an interesting point, and I feel like it's an interesting topic to discuss because I feel personally, I found a significant amount of people who actually wanted to boycott this movie, and who boycotted this movie by not watching this movie, and who went out of their way to tell people to not watch this movie. And I do feel, I am not going to say that that's the reason why it didn't do well in the box office, because obviously there's other reasons why. But I feel like it played a little bit of a hand as far as why it didn't do well at the box office. And obviously coming out of TIFF and all that stuff and what went down at TIFF. Because TIFF, dude, for anyone who doesn't know, Toronto International Film Festival is the biggest hype train or burning building that you can have. If a movie gets a lot of buzz, whether it be, even if the movie's not good, if people just say, oh, I like this certain up-and-coming actor in the movie, tons of people will watch the movie. Or if they say, oh, I really like this moment in the movie, people are going to watch the movie just because people coming out of TIFF, critics coming out of TIFF enjoyed a certain moment in the movie. Or coming out of TIFF, if you say, oh, that movie wasn't great at all, you shouldn't see it, and it has this controversy, people might boycott your movie or not see your movie. TIFF is the one place that can have that effect on it. And I feel like it did have an effect on it. And the reason why is because Shane Black has been working with this friend of his who turns out to be a registered sex offender.
Yeah.
And he actually did time for what he did. And Olivia, here's the big controversy. The controversy wasn't necessarily, but it wasn't necessarily that he was in the movie. It was the fact that he was in the movie, he was hitting on Olivia Munn, and it took Olivia Munn to go to the studio and tell them what she found. She kind of did her research on her own because she didn't get good vibes from this guy, obviously, because you probably wouldn't get good vibes from this type of person. Yeah. And she had to go over Shane Black's head and go up higher to the studio executives and to let them know and say, hey, this person is a registered sex offender. Why is he in this movie? That scene should be cut or something should be done, versus the responsibility on a director to hire the guy, to give him a job, and to give him a scene that's kind of a controversial scene within itself and kind of an out-of-date scene with a registered sex offender who's doing a scene with Olivia Munn. That in itself is a bomb, and that within itself gives a lot of question as far as who's responsible for this and who should take responsibility for it. And at the end of the day, if you're the director of a movie, that's kind of on you. Isn't it, RB3?
Yeah. I mean, this one's all on Shane Black, man. I mean, I don't really, and I kind of hesitate when we talk about these topics because I don't like talking about people and
yeah, because you have a future. I do it because I have a future.
But I
you're
think,
like, these are future people I'm working with, and me, I'm like, no, I'm not meeting any of these people.
I don't know, man. It's want to promote positivity. Besides all the times I said shit that Eminem sucks. By the way, I still think I can watch Eminem in a rap battle. That I think that. I mean, it's just tough with, everything that's happening with the Me Too movement. And you have to, think that Shane Black understood, but, maybe they shot the movie before this whole wave happened, or, you never really know the full timeline of these things. And
regardless of that,
it's not, you shouldn't be giving the child, or a child predator a platform or I mean, I can understand giving people a second chance. I'm all for second chances, but that kind of shit is disgusting. And, and if Olivia Munn especially, I mean, she obviously didn't know beforehand. I don't know what the dude was saying to her on set. You'd assume if a scene like this would be in the script. So, did she read the scene and think it was okay then, or? But once you find out about the guy, the context becomes even worse. So.
I obviously the full story isn't truly out there. There's certain points of the story, right. But I think she just did the scene with the guy and was like, "Yo, this guy's off." That's what I feel like. She did the scene and it was cut from the movie. That means they shot the scene. Yeah. So I think she was cool with it. I don't think it was anything too controversial within the scene itself. But I think the guy, when she got to know him and stuff, she was like, "Ooh, this guy's a little much." Yeah. That's just the feeling I get from it. But yeah, I mean, that obviously shouldn't be.
She throw the guy in the trash, man.
But here's another point I want to make is the fact that Olivia Munn had to take it upon herself. And there was portions coming out of TIFF that a lot of her cast members didn't want to do interviews with her, and she was kind of set doing interviews by herself because they almost felt like it was self-sabotage. You were burning the movie before it's even come out, and it's going to hurt it at the box office. Because if you haven't heard any interviews coming out of...
Oh, yeah. I've seen all the Olivia Munn stuff, yeah.
Yeah, obviously the Olivia Munn interviews, but I heard a few interviews on different podcasts from Keegan-Michael Key, and you can tell that they were really trying. They were like, please go watch this movie, guys. Support Keegan-Michael Key support Key and Peele. Like, that's what he was saying in the interviews. And I was like, oh, okay. So they wanted this movie to succeed. They know it cost a lot of money. They know they had to go through reshoots. They know that they were
I think
working.
Even Olivia Munn wants this movie to succeed,
Of course
too.
she
I
does.
mean, she's posting on Instagram all the time.
She was at the premiere. A friend of mine saw her at the premiere and interviewed her at the premiere. She was at the premiere. She's promoting this movie. They want the movie to do well, but they felt, maybe without saying it, that Olivia Munn kind of played a hand in making this movie not succeed and making this movie kind of fall flat at the box office.
Nobody was going to see The Predator with or without this whole controversy.
Sure,
right?
but it does hurt it, don't you think?
I don't think it hurt like most people.
I don't think it hurts it like this is like a $20 million drop. I don't think it's that heavy of a drop, but I do think it's somewhat of a drop for us people who might have been curious in watching this movie. We're probably not going to see it. Obviously, the biggest thing that hurt this movie were the reviews. That's just fact. And curiosity in the trailers. That hurt the movie because the trailers weren't good.
Trailers are awful.
Yeah, trailers were terrible.
I don't know. I think if people saw this movie, if you're such a big Predator fan that you saw this movie opening weekend, you're going to see it opening weekend regardless of this controversy or not. I mean, I think it came a little too late in the game. Like it came, it was like a week or two before.
It came a week before.
Yeah. So I mean, I definitely think it might have hurt, to a marginal extent, but I think just overall, this movie had a much bigger uphill battle to face before that than just the controversy. But it didn't hurt that Olivia Munn was the only one active during those interviews. I mean, that probably did the most damage.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It did do damage then.
Yeah. I think the repercussions of maybe the whole situation outside of the public controversy, I think, the repercussions in the fact that she's not doing promo for it. Shane Black kind of has to stay quiet now. And I think the whole repercussions of it hurt it the most, but I don't think a lot of general audiences who were checking for Predator really got turned off of seeing it. But that's just my opinion. I don't know for sure. Because I really didn't even hear about the story until like the day I saw Predator.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I don't really like pay attention to like social media as much anymore. So, but that's just me, Yeah. Maybe the rest of the world, did care, and I'm just stupid.
What do you think should be the consequences for this type of behavior coming from a director like Shane Black? Should there be any consequences, or do you think the consequences already happened with this whole debacle and failing at the box office?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, consequences. I mean, I don't. I think a lot. I don't want to see Shane Black like not direct anything ever again. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's But at the same time, I think. I don't know Shane Black. I don't know, his personal life or how he moves and all that stuff, but I haven't heard anything too negative about him. From what it seems like from at least the situation, at least the statement that he put out, he says he didn't know the full details of the child, of the dude. He was just trying to help his buddy out, which I can kind of see, I can empathize with to a certain extent. You know what I mean? I definitely see him, I think if anything, Shane Black needs to take a break. He needs to apologize. He needs to, he needs to own up. He needs to, give, do whatever is, for Olivia Munn that she wants, because she definitely deserves it for being put through this whole debacle in the first place. But I don't know if jeopardizing his full career is the right move.
Yeah, and I think he already did kind of own up and apologize and completely pulled the fault on himself.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, I mean, my next question for you, RB3, to close up this conversation on this topic is the movie studios released a statement, and they said they didn't know because they're not allowed to do backgrounds on their cast. Should they be allowed to do that kind of background, or does that open up Pandora's box for discrimination based on other crimes?
That's where I draw the line here. I don't think you should. That leads to a real area of discrimination. Because not just people of color are indiscriminately convicted of felonies more than disproportionately more than the non-minorities, or than the majority, than white people essentially. I don't mean to say that, but in a racist kind of way, but not racist, but what I'm trying to say is, man, I'm getting myself. See, you get me all twisted up, man. Having you talk about
I
tough
just say
issues.
white people.
I want to talk about Shane Black over here asking me questions about fucking society and shit. No, excuse me. Yeah, no, I think that. I don't think background, and also if you look at are famous actors now. You look at Robert Downey Jr. If they did a background check and they saw that he was sleeping in motherfuckers' cribs, like, hey, off of being high off some bullshit, then he wouldn't be playing Iron Man, and we wouldn't have this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe that everybody enjoys right now. You know what I mean? So. Shit like it really depends, man.
It takes common sense and responsibility. That's all it takes. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. It takes common sense, and you should know not to. I think no matter what we look at, I think there should be a hard line at no child predators. I mean, like
seriously.
maybe if you don't do a full background check, but just check if they're a child predator, then I think that's probably the one thing that or murder. If you murder somebody, you probably shouldn't be like in movies either.
And yet they can
or rapist
win office runs in our government. But
yeah,
that's a whole different conversation. RB3. Let's get into Shane Black's screenplays. Shane Black first got his career started with writing scripts for Hollywood films, and I wanted to ask you, RB3. Obviously, he wrote quite a few. What do you think makes a Shane Black script?
Well, it's always the camaraderie, right? I think what Shane Black has really mastered over his career is having the interaction, the dialogue between characters be the main forefront, and developing characters that kind of contrast each other, that kind of each other's foils to a certain extent, and making that relationship work. I think that's why a consistent theme in his movies is pairing, a dude and a kid, or Lethal Weapon, which I think is probably his biggest hit, biggest example of his writing too. That movie is, the black old dude who's about to retire, and the younger, kind of wild, more spontaneous dude. The contrast between that, and I think that's just that's what makes his filmmaking the most distinctive, is the buddy interaction, the character interaction, and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, the camaraderie between two usually male protagonists. Lethal Weapon is his first
Not Kiss Goodnight's female
list. Yeah, that's a good point. Is his first listing on IMDb is Lethal Weapon. Obviously, he wrote the sequels as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he ghost wrote a lot of things too. I think too, to a certain extent, if I'm not mistaken. But
that's probably the case. Yeah, he obviously wrote pretty much all the Lethal Weapons, as well as Monster Squad, Last Action Hero.
Last Action Hero of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's also great. See, that's another example of the camaraderie, right? The kid but a lot of people don't think that movie works as well, and a lot of people, kind of don't like the whole kid and adult pair up that sometimes Shane Black does in a lot of his movies.
I was gonna say that's a lot of his movies.
Yeah. For some of them, some people really enjoy. Some people really enjoy that. Some people, but I think that's very much a thing that, kind of carried over from his '80s influence. all the '80s movies were, hey, put a kid in it. You know what I mean? Sell it to the kids. So maybe that's a little bit of that. So
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point, because obviously throughout his movies you see kids in certain positions that are usually left for adults, and it's a big question of like, should kids even be in this situation? Obviously, we're going to talk about that with his other movie that recently came out, which was last year, with The Nice Guys. But yeah, I feel like in the screenplays, if there's almost any other director that we've done before, or at least any other writer that we've done before, he definitely has his more consistent type of script and more consistent type of characters, to the point that I almost feel like it's a slight repetitiveness, but obviously we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to ask you about, what is your favorite Shane Black screenplay? Which is a bigger filmography than it's just his films that he directed.
Directing. I mean, of course, Lethal Weapon is a classic. I mean, that's one that everybody, and then deservingly so. I mean, we talked about in the Michael Bay episode how much how much Bad Boys is influenced by Lethal Weapon. I think a lot of the modern aesthetic for the buddy cop film is taken from Lethal Weapon. Also Rush Hour 2 is another example. So I think that movie. Both stands the test of time as to being a classic now and back when it came out. And I also think that it influenced so much that you can't, not acknowledge its place. Now, I also love Last Action Hero. I also love The Long Kiss Goodnight. I think that one's a great, pro-feminism, starring Gina Davis, also Samuel L. Jackson. It's a little, it's more of a feminist tale. It's about, a woman who loses, her memory, but it becomes a badass warrior like Anwar. I think that's pretty sick. So I don't know, I really enjoy that one as well. But yeah, that in terms of scripting, probably go with Lethal Weapon, the original. But also Lethal Weapon 2 is really dope too. Lethal Weapon 2 is really dope.
Yeah, he definitely has a variety of different types of films for sure. But speaking of films, let's get into the films that he directed.
Yeah.
And speaking of variety, RB3, I have to be honest with you. I rewatched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and I rewatched The Nice Guys and I did it back to back. And I have a question for you, RB3, especially after watching them back to back. Are they the same movie?
I think they are, man.
Because I was going to say, I rewatched it back to back, and maybe that's my mistake, but I was like, holy crap, this is the same movie.
Yeah, they're very similar. They're very similar.
To the point that I'm like, wait a minute, Mr. Shane Black, Lethal Weapon, two guys who are, put together, kind of butting heads. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, two guys who are put together, kind of butting heads. Nice Guys, two guys who are wait a minute, Mr. Shane Black, you have a running theme going on with your movies, and it's kind of all the same.
the dummy kind of wild character who doesn't, who just kind of fucks up, and you always have the one character
who's the experienced 31.
Yeah.
Who's kind of always correcting the dummy one.
Yeah. And this one is Gay Perry, with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
That's right. Yeah, let's start out with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Now, before we get into the film itself, this is the movie. I don't know if you've seen how many behind the scenes on the MCU, but this is the movie that Jon Favreau took to Marvel and to the Marvel producers and to the Marvel executives in studio to say, Robert Downey Jr. is your Iron Man. He is your Iron Man. And he said it in an interview. He said convincing them to take Robert Downey Jr. wasn't just a screen test. It was saying Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was kind of Robert Downey Jr.'s return to form. Return to form meaning after his giant, huge drug issues and sabbatical that he took from being in prison and stuff like that. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang before Iron Man was what set off his career. And Jon Favreau used that to say, hey, look, he can do action, right? Look, this is what we can make Iron Man be. And it's kind of crazy, RB3, because rewatching this film, he kind of is Tony Stark in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's kind of stupider.
True, he is stupid. The quips, the crazy reactions, the hitting on girls, that's very, very Tony Stark, to the point that Jon Favreau just kind of took what Shane Black made and just stapled it over onto Iron Man and made the biggest freaking film franchise ever with the MCU now. And it's kind of a credit to Shane Black, because in a way, Shane Black created the Marvel Cinematic Universe by giving Robert Downey Jr. a second chance and by allowing Jon Favreau to use that as a pitch to him. So I just thought that was an interesting point. I don't know if you have a comment on that.
I think definitely Shane Black is a director that's very oriented towards the script as opposed to the style of his movies. And I think the script having a specific format, I think all of his movies do kind of feel very similar because he holds very inept to the rules, the principles that are screenwriting. He sticks very closely to them. There's always the act 1, the act 2, the act 3, and they're always very distinctive. There's always a change in location. There's always a midpoint climax. There's always all these things that very closely navigates a film. So,
well, not just that, but the fact that, I mean, the biggest thing, the narrator, man. He has a narrator in almost every. Right. I think it's even in Iron Man 3. It's narration on top. Yeah. Tony Stark narrates.
This is the therapist with Bruce Banner.
That's right. Yeah, he's narrating the film, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he's narrating the film, and then The Nice Guys is narrating the film. Like, that's kind of a huge...
Didn't The Predator start off with a narration too? Or?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I don't think it did.
Oh, it started off with the shitty fucking spaceship.
Oh, the ship coming
down?
down?
What the fuck? Yeah. All right, never mind. Let's move off of that.
But it's essentially kind of repeating and rehashing what he did before.
Yeah.
Do you feel that is like, hey, he's making it cool and he's doing it well? Or do you feel like, oh, it's just another repetition of making a Shane Black movie?
I think he wants to make his movies feel very like storybookish, very much like whimsical inside of the perspective. And I think he takes a lot of influence, particularly with The Nice Guys and with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He takes a lot of influence from those mystery novels, the kind of neo-noir kind of aesthetic of the and I think, noir features a lot of narration. This one, I think he kind of pays an ode to that and using narration in this.
And he even mentions it in the movie itself. In Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he mentions those noir film novels or novels that keep coming up. And you're right, he is very much interested in those type of old school movies and old school kind of novels that would happen quite a bit back in that back in that time era that he was from. But yeah, I mean, this movie has obviously Robert Downey Jr., starring Robert Downey Jr. and starring Val Kilmer. Coming off his Batman days. It also has Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah.
And yeah, Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Movie. Yeah, she's dope in this movie. I love Michelle Monaghan.
Plays a struggling actress.
Plays a struggling actress. Interesting that here I go, man. I'm gonna go on a little thing. Struggling actress, LA setting, nice guys, struggling actress, obviously porn actress.
Porn actress, yeah.
LA setting. Boobs in the nice guys, boobs in this movie too. Big party that's almost like a porn party. The Kiss Kiss Bang Bang has that kind of weird booby party, and then the nice guys has that crazy porn booby party.
Well, also the nice guys.
I'm not saying anything against, but it's almost like, wait a minute, you're doing the same thing, and then female characters are kind of like, I don't want to say inept, but inept in all of his movies. And
well, the nice guys starts with the hooker falling out of
it's not. She's a porn actress.
Actress, yeah. But I mean, Lethal Weapon starts with the hooker falling out of a building too.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that's told off screen, or something.
I don't want to paint pictures every three, and obviously you want to have futures with these people, and obviously I don't have a future. We've already stated that. But at the same time, I'm like, wait a minute. Does this guy just want to have like a bunch of like actresses just walk around his set with no clothes in all his movies?
Yo, Ace, man.
Hey, man, it's one of those, if you're working Hollywood long enough, you know that some people actually do that shit for that reason. I'm not joking. That's real.
Man. Ace trying to get us in trouble, man. He's trying to get us kicked out
I'm always trying to get us in trouble. But at the same time, it's a question that I kind of have is like, wait a minute, man, you're kind of doing the same thing and just putting a different label on it.
Yeah, no, I mean he holds very dear to his structure, and if his structure includes chicks with their tits out, then that's what it includes. Ace.
I don't know, man.
I don't think there's anything wrong with.
I don't think there is either. I'm just simply saying that. I don't know, man.
Trying to implicate this man off some.
I'm not trying to implicate anybody, RB3. Stop making false accusations. False accusations, man.
Fake news, man. Alternative facts.
That's exactly what you're spitting right now. Spitting that fake news.
Alternative facts.
All I'm saying is it's an interesting running theme that he has throughout his movies about the actresses, about even the line that Robert Downey Jr. has in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang about all the actresses kind of moving out to Hollywood and all being, I think he says, not broken parts or damaged goods is what he says. And it's like all the actresses are damaged goods. It's kind of a funny scene actually when he's at that party and he's like, all these women are damaged goods.
Yeah.
And then Michelle Monaghan is like, all right, you know what? And it's like a party going on and they're all dancing in the background and music super loud. And she's like, you know what? Everyone in here who hates Harry, raise their hand, and everyone raises their hand as if they heard her, as if they know who Harry is, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I hate Harry," and they're all raising their hands. But it's an interesting perspective because in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, there's certain themes in there that are kind of tackled quite a bit as far as the looseness of actresses working in Hollywood. Which, hey man, this is the movie. I'm not trying to say anything. This is what the movie's saying. I mean, even Harry and Robert Downey Jr. character kind of says, hey, this is a weird culture that I'm currently experiencing in Hollywood where everyone's loose to the point that they're kind of okay with things that they shouldn't be okay with. And that's a theme that he has coming up in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang quite a bit. And that's something that he says quite a bit in Nice Guys as well, especially with what's her face? The daughter, Mia. Was it Mia or Michelle or Amelia? Amelia.
I don't know.
Amelia in The Nice Guys. But either way, I just feel like that's an interesting thing that he keeps coming up. You can tell he's definitely not jaded, but kind of jaded by the Hollywood culture and how the culture kind of has this fascination with fame. With fame and with getting better and with being the best and all that kind of thing.
Well, he's a funny writer in general. If you read the original screenplay of Lethal Weapon, one of the lines that he has in like the descriptions, it's like, because they pull up to the homie's mansion at some point. So when they pull up to the mansion, he's like, this character has a mansion so big, it's the house I buy when I sell the screenplay or something like that. Like, it's this little shit. Like, he makes fun.
Dude, I'm telling you, I watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys back to back. I just keep saying that over and over again because I just noticed certain things. So Ryan Gosling's character, when he's in that mansion party, he falls backwards and he falls off and he rolls down a hill, right? You know what scene I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, when Michelle Monaghan finds Proto Cop in her apartment, he also falls backward off a balcony and
falls
onto the street.
Yeah.
Also, in The Nice Guys, there's that famous pull shot of the underwater girls who are naked and swimming underwater.
Yeah.
And in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, there's the exact same shot.
Yeah. I didn't notice that one. I noticed that one.
I was like, wait a minute, this is the same movie. And then Private Eye with Private Eye, because they're both private eyes.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, Shane Black is like, yo, I got to do this again with Ryan Gosling, because Ryan Gosling's a bigger name. And also, it brings up a point of Ryan Gosling's daughter as well, who kind of plays the female character in The Nice Guys, but she's also kind of the character who's a big supporting character. Yeah. And she plays the heart of the movie, essentially, is what she's playing as well. It's like someone you don't want to, you want to allow her to have her freedom, but you don't want to corrupt too much. But the fact that she's kind of like the quick one who kind of gets everything and kind of tells her dad to pick up the pace and not be just this useless drunk guy. But either way, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys, is it fair to say that these two movies are your favorite of the Shane Black franchise or the Shane Black films, directing-wise?
No.
Really? What is your favorite Shane Black movie?
Maze directed?
Yes.
Honestly, I only really like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like The Nice Guys?
Not really.
Interesting. That's an interesting.
I mean, this is a good movie. I think it's a little. I mean, maybe now you're pointing out how similar it is to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
It's so similar, man.
Maybe that's why I was subconsciously. I just thought it was a little too bland and a little too much like. All right, like we could. Like I thought to me it felt like a lot of like, oh, here's us trying to be funny and here's a funny scene that this is about to happen in. Whereas I thought like a lot of it could have been. I don't know. I'm very touchy when it comes to noir like kind of stuff. So like I do have a certain, and for some reason I think Kiss Kiss Bang Bang came out fresher to me because I think it was set in a modern period. So it felt like almost natural that it was a little more of a satirical kind of look at that. But then I thought that The Nice Guys just didn't have it just wasn't as fun to me.
It didn't have the same flair.
Yeah,
it almost felt like a rehash of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't know if that's why I like didn't. I just never, even when I first saw it in theaters, I was like, oh, this is good, but like I would rather watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Or I love his, like, again, I love his writing. Like I love Lethal Weapon, I love Long Kiss Goodnight, and I like Last Action Hero. So I enjoy his writing a whole lot. Just that one didn't Nice Guys didn't do it for me.
What do you think of the daughter character?
She was cool. I mean, it was the same thing as Iron Man 3 though. Like, why is there a kid in this movie?
I was gonna say, do you think it's a little outdated to put a kid POV?
I think it's incredibly out of date. Are you kidding me? Like,
I mean, the fact not just that the kid is not just that there's a kid in the movie and that the kid plays a part in the movie, but the fact that the kid is kind of going back, being quippy with an adult, or doing adult type things. Yeah. Like the kid in Iron Man 3 is doing adult type things. The daughter in The Nice Guys is doing adult type things. I feel like that's a little outdated. Not just a kid in the movie, but the kid is like, well, I blah, 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 and I can do this too. And I solve the case, and I can hang out with porn actresses too. Like, I feel like that's...
Yeah, that was a little crazy. She kept hanging out with the porn actors. Like, why she kept sitting there having conversations with them? You know what I mean? That was a little shame.
See, that's what I thought too, RB3, but you painted me as this guy who's trying to paint this picture and trying to falsely accuse people. I'm not. I'm just saying it's a little weird to have like an 11-year-old be like, I think, watching like porn movies.
Well, you know, that I think to me, like,
I was like, this is a little outdated.
Well, you know, we talked about the controversy.
That's funny in like 1983, I guess.
Yeah, but see, we talked about the controversy with the Olivia Munn thing and the actor. I thought the bigger part of the controversy that nobody was talking about was the fact that guy was also in The Nice Guys, and he also had a scene with the underage actress.
What's what? Oh my God! Which one? Which scene was that?
I can't remember.
Okay.
But it's somewhere in there. But to me, that was more concerning. I thought, okay, this guy's a child predator. Why is he allowed to be in the same room as this actress? You know what I mean?
Sure.
But that was a little. But you know, I digress on that point. But yeah, I don't think take kids out of movies, man. We don't need kids in movies. I mean, and to Shane Black's credit, he does a great job with every kid that he casts in his movies. True. All his movies,
they're all great
has really
actors.
great kid actors.
Yeah.
I just don't think why are we doing this? Why even as a kid, I never liked the idea of seeing another kid in a movie. Right?
Yeah, it's not just outdated, but it's almost kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like why?
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be a kid POV in an R-rated noir
that's
movie
what confused
about
me.
porn.
That's what confused me. This movie's
It's
R-rated.
a little
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
Like I get it if you're gonna put a kid in like Goonies,
Yeah.
or if you're gonna make it an It, where the whole point is like
It's
the
childhood,
kids are trying to be afraid of certain things that they're afraid of. But in a noir movie about porn,
Yeah, I don't think any parents are taking their kids to see that.
yeah, that's a little outdated to the point that even they say it in the movie. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Why are you here, kid? Because I feel like that's kind of like, oh, we don't need that. I mean, we don't need it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put it in, and the point I would assume is comedic relief. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's even necessary in a movie that already has like a ton of jokes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole movie is about finding a tape of the girl who made a porn movie and who's trying to expose her mom for doing illegal stuff in the Department of Justice. But yeah, let's go back to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, since it is your favorite film that he directed. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang has a lot of twists and turns, RB3. I don't know if you recall these twists and turns, but it has quite a few of them. And it's an interesting thing because I feel like that is a big thing, obviously coming out of noir and coming out of detective stories, because detective stories like to kind of pull the thread, and even the narration says it too. It's like, oh, have you figured out who the killer is? Blah blah blah, because we're halfway through, so we're gonna see if we can discover who the killer is. Because there's right at the start of the second act, I believe, there's a moment where there's new evidence that's found by Robert Downey Jr.'s character. But either way, there is a lot of twists and turns, and there is a lot of framing that's very much a callback to old school noir films.
Yeah.
But there's also funny moments. I want to talk a little bit about the funny moments in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, because I think there's quite a few of them. One of the ones that I just remember seeing, because I just rewatched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, is Val Kilmer's when he's getting interrogated by the guy in the scene, and he just pulls he's like, come on man, come on, just grab my dick, bro. Come on, you're gay. Come on, grab my dick. And then he just starts shooting the guy. With the gun. And then it cuts to Robert Downey Jr. and he goes, yeah. And then immediately after he shoots the guy, he's like, oh, did you have a gun in there? Oh, thank God he had a gun in there. I thought that was like a gay thing, bro. And he's like, I thought that all gay people had like superpowers that could just shoot. I thought that was a funny moment. I don't know if you had a favorite.
No. I always think to the moment where they're trying to dump the body. And Robert Downey Jr. just has no idea like what to do, like how do I dump a body when they're trying to throw it into the river or whatever. Like I don't know. To me, that was my favorite. That's when I started to like really get into the movie.
There's also like silly moments in the movie that are just kind of just there to be funny. I already mentioned the raise your hand one. Yeah. There's also the fact that the freaking guy selling hot dogs at the hot dog stand just obliterates the bad guy with the gun. He's like, oh shit, not in my house, bro. And it just takes him out with like 10 shotguns, 10 shots to the back, and Val Kilmer's character just kind of walks away and he's like, oh, all right, cool. Yeah. And he walks off. I think that's a funny moment that's supposed to be funny that a lot of people might not get. But either way, I think Kiss Kiss Bang Bang mainly works because the comedy works and because Robert Downey Jr. is good at delivering those quippy MCU type of lines that are so well known now in the Iron Man franchise. And speaking of Iron Man, finally, let's get into it. Iron Man 3. Shane Black infamously, I would say, because Iron Man 3 is very famous, but famous for different reasons, which is why it's infamous. Iron Man 3 had a lot of controversy as well, mainly with the story and specifically with the character of the Mandarin.
Yeah.
So the Mandarin, not when Ben Kingsley was announced as the Mandarin, people lost their mind. They were like, this is crazy cool. This is crazy cool casting. A lot of people said that. And then when they saw the trailer and they saw how the Mandarin was acting, they were like, yo, you know, the famous line that he has in the movie, RB3, do you know it?
You will not see this coming.
Yeah, you will never see me coming.
See me coming.
But either way, people were pretty hype on it. And another portion of the population also said, wait a minute, the Mandarin is Asian and he's supposed to be, you know, master of the 10 rings, but also an Asian person because he's the Mandarin. You know, why would you do this kind of switch? And not just that, but the fact that in the movie you discover that the Mandarin is just an actor. Ben Kingsley is an actor. And that the real Mandarin is Guy Pearce. Is it Guy Pearce?
Yeah, Guy Pearce.
And that he kind of takes the role of that. And a lot of people, RB3, did not like that twist. Were you one of them?
No, I didn't like that twist. That's definitely one of the worst twists I've ever seen in any movie. And I don't even think the twist was just bad. I think like the movie beyond that point just got really, really bad.
I was gonna say Iron Man 3 for the most part. Rewatching this movie, the first 2 acts are pretty solid.
First act is solid.
I like the first 2 acts. Even the kid, I think the
but
kid
you thought
works.
the twist was a.
But the start of the third act where the twist happens and when
I think that's still a second act.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's more of like what happens like exactly like the
halfway point.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe
yeah.
after that point, I feel like that's when the movie starts to fall apart quite a bit.
Me,
and the third act is pretty goofy with the whole like burning through stuff. It's like, I'm burning through this. I'm burning through that. Like I was like, oh, this is kind of boring.
That shit was whack.
I mean, at least Don Cheadle's cool. But I don't know. I like Iron Man 3 for the most part, but I do feel like that third act is pretty rough. And the MCU already kind of struggles with third acts, especially up to that point.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Fighting a villain and then this villain kind of burning through everything and then what's her face? Pepper Potts.
Paltrow, yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow being the one that saves the day because she has the superpowers too. And it's like, oh, this is kind of weird. I don't know. I just didn't appreciate the third act as much as I thought I would. And I don't know. I feel like what this movie promised was so close to it, man. It was so freaking close. And it made a ton of money at the box office. I think it broke some records. I think it's still one of the highest. Yeah, it's still one of the highest grossing MCU movies. But at the end of the day, it's still one of those movies that I feel like most people who like MCU movies and most people who like the film franchise that Iron Man has created don't like Iron Man 3. Do you prefer Iron Man 3 or Iron Man 2?
Iron Man 2 easy.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this on our MCU episode, and I don't even think it's like close. I don't think to me it's like to me Iron Man 3 is like not even like. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's not a good Marvel movie, but it's a good Shane Black." I don't even think it's a good Shane Black movie, honestly. Like, because I don't think everything. I think everything up to the first. And I said this when we talked about it on the MCU episode. I think everything up until the first act break, like when the house explosion happens, I think is the best Marvel movie ever. Everything after that point just literally snowballs into the worst kind of plotting, the worst kind of pacing, the worst kind of characters and character switches and stuff that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Sure.
And I don't know. It really, you look at the plot. The plot's the exact same as The Incredibles. And I love The Incredibles. So I don't know.
You know what this movie does have that's really good, RB3? What? Rebecca Hall.
I don't know.
National treasure, Rebecca Hall.
Great in that movie. I heard the movie Christine was pretty good. That Rebecca.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. She's such a good actress. She's so underrated. But you know what does make this movie great, RB3? And it's the first 30 seconds of this movie. Because as soon as this movie opens, it has the greatest opening song, which is Eiffel 65's Blue Dabba Dee.
Oh, yeah.
As soon I was watching this in the movie with my brother, and as soon as that movie, yo, listen up, here's the story. I was like, oh, shit. It's 1999. And then the movie goes downhill from there. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like this movie tried to build up a lot and it didn't really deliver on a lot. And I feel like overall, I don't know. What do you feel like is the biggest staple in the Shane Black filmography? you know, is he gonna be remembered as the guy who kind of burned the bridge with Iron Man 3, or the guy who ruined the Predator, or the guy who made a pretty fun movie called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
I think most people are gonna know him as the writer of Lethal Weapon. I think that's probably gonna be really the ultimate thing, and of course, writer of a lot of other great 80s and 90s movies too.
Sure.
I think Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is gonna be his directorial stamp. I don't think people are really gonna think as Iron Man and Predator as really his movies because they are in franchises already. And even though they both kind of stink, you know, they both try something different.
Sure.
I can't like not discredit them for that, or I can't discredit them for that. I just think both of what they did differently was horrible.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, Shane Black hopefully gets another good movie on this.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll be looking closely at Shane Black's career, and hopefully he can make a comeback, and we can call it a comeback, and it can be a good one. But either way, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of The Meaning of Podcast. We'll be back next week, and who knows, we might have our very first in-studio guest next week. It'll be a very interesting podcast, and you'll be excited to see who that guest is. For The Meaning of Podcast, I am Ace.
This is RB3.
And we are peacing out. Peace out, guys.